always been willing to come to the table, have always been willing to have these conversations. It's the people on the opposition side that no, my way or the highway. I don't want to have a conversation of what this is going to look like for Mississippi. What do families really need? And I think they're kind of saying like, well, okay, all right, I need to stop being so hard headed.
Yeah.
And let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Exactly. So, one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is that in the state of Mississippi, in order for a child to move from one district to another, you have to get the permission of not only the district the child would be leaving and the district that the child would be accepted in. And that's not easy to do in a lot of cases, because once a child leaves a certain district, they lose funding for that child. And so they don't really want to let go and approve children to go to a different district, even if they're accepted somewhere else. And so in a lot of cases, children are being held hostage in a classroom where they are not getting what they need. And I think that's one thing a lot of people were willing to come together and talk about this year more so than ever before, is removing that barrier.
Yes. Well, and that's a simple fix, right? Like removing that red tape is an absolute simple fix. And, you and I look at it from the children, like from the mother perspective, from meeting the child holistically, but let's look at it from a business perspective. So if a child leaves a district and they go somewhere else, the state dollar is following them. But but do you know what's staying?
Their local dollars.
Local dollar, and depending on what type of because federal funds come in different little pots. If it's Title I, those title funds stay in that district. So your per pupil expenditure is going up. So if you are receiving money for a child that you're not educating, you are not serving, you have more money
than you have before.
Yes.
And I think Corey DeAngelis was here, and he spoke a few months ago at an event that we both spoke at as well. And what he put it in a way that I think really gives a visual illustration of what that looks like. So if you go to Walmart and you want to buy groceries there, but then you decide the produce looks better over at Kroger. And so you go to Kroger and you buy their produce, yet you leave some of your money with Walmart, even though you didn't get anything from them. That's what this looks like.
Yeah, you're right. That was a great example. And that's like, that makes sense. And I don't think Walmart would ever say, absolutely not, take your money with you, or no, we're not going to let you go get your product from somewhere else. That means they have more money at their store. They still have their inventory on the shelf.
Right.
So that just, anyway, it makes sense.
Make it make sense. A lot of things don't make sense when it comes to education, Leah. I'm just going to be completely honest here. A lot of things don't seem to make sense. And I always talk about how, once we get through Christmas and then the legislative session starts and everything picks up when it comes to political issues and legislation that we want to see come through, good policy. And then I always think to myself, oh, session's over. We can slow down, take a breath. Never happens.
No, oh my gosh. I'm so glad you said that, because, like after a session, after, I guess, quote unquote, sunny die, and I'm like, okay, let me take a beat, kind of reflect on,
take a walk.
Right. Have a drink, just reflect on, what went wrong, what didn't happen,
how do we fix it,
what do we do different, right? And maybe where did we miss the mark? But I don't think we missed the mark.
No. I think we're doing it right.
We didn't. So we're going to keep our foot on the gas, and we're going to keep on pushing forward with the messaging that we've been giving. We're going to keep on speaking to moms who are wanting another option and wanting to know how do they navigate this space. We're going to continue going across the state, speaking to others who want to learn more.
It's our platform.
We're going to continue these panel debates that we've been doing.
We've got 2 coming up.
Yes,
I'm so excited.
So, in the season of this, of having the civil discourse, of having these debates, man, I love it. It's picking up around the state.
You know what, Leah? That's the great thing about this, is because so much misinformation has been out there. So many people are confused about what this will do. They've been lied to about what school choice and education freedom would actually mean right here in Mississippi. And what's so great about that is because we are doing these debates, and we are facing the very people who have put the nonsense out there that's untrue. And it's all recorded. It's all out there. So now you can go back and look and see that we're calling it out for what it is.
Absolutely. And, you know, in these debates, you know, some of the just baloney that we've heard, and it's like, when you hear, you read it and you see it and you hear other people talk about it, but when you hear it coming directly from the horse's mouth of like, wow, the entitlement, the audacity,
Mhm.
what was said, if you can afford gas in your car, you can afford to move. You can afford private school tuition.
That's insane.
Yeah, and what was another thing that was said? A majority of children that DHS cases are homeschool families. So they said that
Yeah.
while there were homeschool families in the audience.
Yeah. Basically, it was the painted picture said homeschool families don't really care about their kids. They're not really schooling them. These kids don't learn anything. These are the lazy parents.
Yeah, that is mind blowing. The
Yeah.
audacity to sit there and tell an audience, and obviously they didn't know their audience because there were
No.
homeschool families in that audience.
Yeah.
Telling families that what?
Yeah.
What? No. And you and I agree. You know, the parent knows what's best. I know what's
Yeah.
best for my child. You know what's best for yours. But to tell an audience of families that, you know what, if you homeschool your kid,
You neglect them.
yeah,
Basically, that's basically what
Yeah.
was. Yeah, you know, if you fight for school choice, you're obviously you must be neglecting your kids too. I mean, that's just kind of like I guess their narrative. But another point that was made, and I think this was so great. I don't know if I think it was Russ who said this, but if there is a or maybe it was Gerard, if there's a burning building and there are 10 children who are going to die in this burning building, but we can't get all 10 out, maybe we can only get 6. Would we just not get any?
well, according to the opposition, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
what they let the whole building
yeah,
burn up.
just let it
Yeah.
all burn. If we can't get them all, we don't need to even try to
Yes.
save one.
Yes.
And I think that's baloney.
It
And I
is.
think if there is one child whose future and whose outcomes we can change by putting them in the environment where they can thrive, why wouldn't we do that?
And what is it gonna hurt? What is it at the cost of what? At the cost of what? I mean, pride?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Because if you don't want to send your kid to a different school once this legislation is passed, because it will, it's going to happen. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen eventually. Then don't do it.
Then don't. Exactly.
But don't take that away from other
And
people.
that is what is, I think, at the crux of all of this is that if you don't want another choice, if you don't need another
You don't
choice,
have to
God
take it.
bless you, man. Count your lucky stars. What a
Absolutely.
blessing. But if you need it, absolutely don't deny the families that need to exercise a different option. And you know what? Just because you don't need something now,
I mean, you might not need it later.
exactly,
Because I'll tell you what, God has a funny way.
sure does, man. He sure does.
He laughs at our plans.
Look, I was on. I think it was maybe 2018. Anyway, it was a while back, and there was a family like in our community that was like just completely against school choice. And I've been an advocate since the beginning of time for school choice, and they were just very, very loud, very boisterous about not being for this, and et cetera, et cetera. And their kids were in a public school at the time, so I get it. Like you want to support. Doesn't matter if it's public, private, parochial. You should support your school. Right?
Yeah.
Well, years later, I mean, it took like, it was about 7 years later. Not 7. Yeah, we go. Yeah. Now.
Time flies.
Right? The wife is teaching in a private school. Her kids are in a private, and she was like, you know what? We were wrong. We were wrong then on, telling you that you were wrong about believing in this, that this should be an option for children. Now we are practicing choice. And man,
It feels so good to hear that, doesn't it?
well, it does. And like you plant that seed and you don't ever judge someone by their decisions that they've made. And you can't judge someone for their story and their life learned because that's particular to them, I mean,
Yeah.
and you can't judge someone for that, but to experience that firsthand of someone coming back around like, man, I had it wrong. I had it wrong and I'm sorry. And
that's why we do what we do.
yeah, it is.
Because there are people who don't understand, and we want you to understand and as best as you possibly can what this would actually mean as far as opportunity and parents being able to truly be put back in the driver's seat to make the decisions for their children. I think it's common sense. You know,
It is, but like you said, the accountability does lie on the parents. And I was speaking to some teachers the other day, and they're just talking about, just maybe behaviors of children, just overall. They're kind of like making a blanket statement, and like how the majority of these certain population of kids in this certain district, I say it's all students, they're disrespectful, they're rude, they don't respect authority, don't respect teacher. I'm like, well, where's the issue? Like, the issue lies on the families. It lies on the
mhm,
on the parents, and that's why we do have to hold parents accountable, and that's where school choice is. It allows parents that accountability. It allows them to have the power to parent their children, because we have gone so far away of really forcing these school systems to be the parents of children.
mhm.
Like we've allowed it, and our government, we have allowed,
Yeah.
and you and I aren't okay with that.
No.
And we want to take that power back, and not only take that power back, but we should be bestowing that power amongst parents as well.
Absolutely. We gotta take a break, but there's lots more to break down and get into, and what's coming next, and how do we keep this fire, this topic of education freedom alive. We're gonna talk about more of that, and we will be right back here. WIB 1039, The Lindsey Beckham Show. Don't go anywhere.